27 minutes past the hour. Hope your day's going well. Hope your week has started off well, and we thank you for spending some of it with us. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio, streaming at millerandmoulton.com, broadcasting live once again on the Miller and Moulton Twitch.tv channel. He's Pat Kirwan. You can listen to him weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. He and Jim Miller co-host Moving the Chains together. And besides that, Pat works weekends as part of the CBS NFL Today show. Pat joins us once again, courtesy of Pinchers from Tampa to Key West and many points in between with 8 locations in Southwest Florida. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. Pat, how are you?
I'm doing well and found some interesting games this week. Just got off a conference call about Chase Claypool, what he's accomplished, and I had interviewed him and spent some time with him at the Senior Bowl, so I was invited into the conversation on him. But that's a smart kid, and they had him wrong. The scouts, he can't be pressed. He's not a hand catcher. He went to the Senior Bowl and rocked the world down there, and then he went to the Combine and tore it up. And obviously Sunday, he became a star overnight. And so I don't know that he's going to have that kind of day every day, but we'll get ready because he can throw too. I don't know if they're ready for that, but here comes a pass from the guy. That'll be the next thing. They'll be calling him Jim Thorpe at the end of that one.
Oh boy, sounds like a couple other players that may have played in Pittsburgh over the years on that side of the ball that can do multiple things. Before we get into the week that was, let's get into the game that's tonight, Pat, because we have just a very simple poll question today. Which team do you basically have more faith in? Which team's the truer contender coming into tonight between Buffalo and Tennessee? Who do you think is the bigger contender?
Buffalo. No, I like both of them, so it's not like I dislike Tennessee. Starting with tonight, I think, and this is right from Coach Cowher, he just said, I can't even imagine how you could be ready when you have 2 practices in 2.5 weeks, and you have walkthroughs, and you have serious doubts about the health of everyone around there. So I think it's going to be hard for them. I think this is totally uncharted water. What teams ever had to go through this in preparation for a game and everything that goes along with the negativity that they're subjected to, and maybe big fines, et cetera. But I think just Buffalo has been building for this season, and beautifully. We've talked about it almost every week. And that quarterback there who's got magic in him. Now, he could stumble and fall, but I'd be willing to bet that this year is going to have the ability to make the extra special play, which I think will be the difference between the two teams.
Pat, we've already seen 2 coaching changes and 2 general managership changes, if you will, because O'Brien was also the GM of the Texans. And both organizations, hiring search firms and saying they're going to, take care of business at the end of the year. Could they do it sooner, though, Pat? First off, there are former general managers who are unemployed right now. There are assistant general managers. I mean, couldn't I, if I was an owner, contact Tennessee and say, hey, I want to interview your assistant GM? I mean, can the Titans stop that from happening during the season? I mean, we all know how the coaching searches go during the playoffs. If you're not playing that week, your assistants can interview. I mean, couldn't the Texans and the Falcons move forward with at least hiring a general manager before the end of the season?
Not from the hired ranks, but from the unemployed ranks, sure. And I would put somebody. McKay's putting Rustin Webster in there, isn't he? I think he is. And he had been doing some consulting for him, but I don't think he can really pull. First off, if you called me and said, I'd like to talk to your assistant GM, I said, and I'd like a 2nd round pick. That'd be the first thing I'd say.
Just to talk to him?
Well, if you want to talk to him, that's a 4th. If you want to hire him, it's a 2nd.
What about during a bye week, Pat? You can't do it then? We're just trying to kind of figure out the legalities from the league standpoint.
Well, our historian's with us here. Now, David, has anyone ever done that?
I don't believe so. But then again, but up until a few years ago, we didn't really trade in the league anymore either. I mean, this is new ground. I just know if I'm the Texans and if I'm the Falcons, there's a part of me, Pat, let's just say I want you. okay, and you were working for the Jets. But I want you, because I want you around the guys for, even if it's 3 weeks, 4 weeks. I don't want you just having to base everything on film. I want you in the building. I want you walking around the locker room, on the sidelines at practice. I want you to get a better feeling of what we're about before you make the massive changes that you're going to make.
I agree with the merit for it, and I agree that that's an advantage. I don't think it's going to come to them getting one. By the way, if I were those two teams, I wouldn't be hiring anybody's assistant GM. I'm going to go get a guy with real credentials who's done it. And that, I think, now, what I don't have in front of me are the GMs that have expiring contracts, where I know the guy is up at the end of this year. And then maybe I could do something there. But these guys can't afford to start all over with green as grass GMs and expect any results different than the ones they have. So I'd be careful about going down that road. In the meantime, would I put it now? I almost laugh at this, but I've seen guys hired as consultants who at the end of and sit in a booth and go to practice and all those things, and at the end conclude, I'm the best candidate for the job. So,
All right.
I love when they give themselves the A+. But I love what you're thinking is, David. I can't recall it happening. I don't think I was thinking of my own situation as you referenced me. I had a chance. The Bears called when I was at the Jets and asked for permission for me to interview. And I'll remember what Parcells said to me. He said, you can go out there, but you can't take the job. You can come back and we could talk about that. And I don't want to go through what happened after that, but I remember not being able to confirm to the Bears when I was in the building that I could take this job. And so, those things, there's always a little wall up. And a guy under contract who's now been, by the way, the assistant GM is probably really studying the draft, from home and free agency and his own. So there's a intellectual property issue with you paid for all this research that he's done for you, and why would you give it up to someone else at this point? Now, I do know one young guy, African-American guy that I'm very close to, that he did take at the Combine last year. He was one of the few chosen to take a video interview, which was filed for owners to see, observe, and wonder if this is the kind of guy we want to hire. So they do have on file a number of these guys that people wouldn't know their names, but they have quality reputations. You have to get like so many recommendations before you could even get to the video library part of this journey that these guys go on. So I wouldn't be surprised if the owners are going to look at those video files, and I would not be surprised if my guy gets at least a chance to go in and interview, and he's ready for it. He's a smart guy. I knew him in high school. When he got done, he said, I want to be in football. I said, okay, I'll help you, but you go get a law degree. First he played college football, and then he came to me and said, am I ready now? I said, no, now go get a law degree. And I kind of said it tongue in cheek. I don't hear from him for 2.5 years. He says, do you want to come to my law graduation? What? He goes, yeah, I did what you told me. I got a law degree. Then I got him into the NFL, and he's worked his way up, and he's sitting in a pretty nice spot right now. So those kind of young guys that no one knows their names, they're going to get on. No one knew who Dimitrov was when he left for Atlanta, and he got that job on a video interview, if you will. I don't believe he was offered the job via video, not in the office. So we're in those kind of times, but I don't think it's going to go the way you want it to go, David, at this point.
All right, Pat, here's my last hypothetical. And I don't know if this is something to be done, but if I owned the Houston Texans, I would have already contacted Dabo Swinney's agent and just found out if he's interested. And then if he's interested, I'd say, all right, I'm going to send him a list of 8 GMs, have him rank the top 4 that he'd want to work with. If you're Houston, before Trevor Lawrence goes and gets drafted and someone might want him, would you at least make the phone call?
Well, dealing with the agent's easy. No, they all do that, and you certainly should do that. But Davo's nervous as hell that this would get out. He's already had to refute that he's interested, which means nothing, because it'll kill recruiting in 100 ways. So I like your style of how you'd set the agent up. You're in charge of everything, and you can bring in a GM to work for you. And here's our suggested list. But if you have someone you like more than this list, let's talk about that guy. Then the price tag is whatever you want.
Right, he's making $9 million at Clemson, so he's going to be getting more than that to go to Houston.
$15 million.
Yeah.
You're gonna see when you do this. I remember the finances when Parcells came in to the Jets. He came in basically as the GM as well, and so when you really look at that, it's a bargain to get a top flight GM and a top flight coach. You're going to be in the 20 million range in a bundle. So you give one of them 15 and move on, and give 4 or 5 to his GM candidate, which is the guy who's going to do all the work for him. But it'll be so private if that really is going to go on, because you guys know David handles college football. Those guys are scared to death. Now, I will say this. The college door has been closed for years, but our friend Matt Rule has reopened that with the 3-game winning streak without McCaffrey. I think, guys, that if you got the college list is realistic again. I'll leave it at that.
Well, and I will say, though, he's a college guy who first was an NFL guy. He was an NFL guy who went to college, and now he's back in the NFL. I think that might be the combination. You know, Pete was the same way. He was an NFL guy who went to college and then now back with the NFL. All right, got about 8 or so minutes here. Let's cover some football ground. Ron sent in a question and said, "Hey, Pat, what do you think of the Dolphins' revamped offensive line? You know, the 3 draft picks, 2 of them starting. You know, it seems whether it's Fitz or eventually one day Tua. What do you think of the O-line they've put together?"
It's doing well. And this is a team that should, and this excluding Tua, because we're not ready for him yet. But I said this on this show a few weeks ago. Yeah, I like it. But this is one of the reasons I'm not playing Tua yet. I want that line to know what they're doing before I put the kid out there, because the kid's medical history is when he takes a risk is when he gets hurt. I don't want him taking a risk because the line malfunctioned and didn't know we had slide right protection on. So Fitzy's training the line. If you really think about what's going on there, Fitz is training everybody to be ready to come out and not be a liability when Tua finally gets on the field. I do like what they're doing with the line, and I love this coach. I think this guy is going to be a very good coach for a long time. And the Tua thing, everyone slow your roll on that. In the meantime, he's teaching a team to win that hasn't won in a long time. And Fitz will make the transition beautifully when he finally goes to the side and puts the kid. Did you see the 2 of them on the sideline after Fitzy had a touchdown? How excited Tua was? That thing is just percolating beautifully. And get as many young guys on the field as you can. And then at the end of the season, wherever there's a little hole, maybe it's a guard, maybe it's a right tackle, I don't care. Go buy one and do what Buffalo did and plug in a veteran or 2 if you need to. But in the meantime, I do like what they're doing.
I don't know if you've talked to Mr. Gruden yet. I know you talk to him often, but it was obviously a very impressive win Sunday afternoon as they go beat the Chiefs. Chiefs haven't lost in next to forever. And now all of a sudden everybody's wondering, do the Raiders have a little something going, or is this just more they had the right formula that day to beat the Chiefs?
They got something going on. I did talk to Gruden yesterday. I texted him, and then he was flying when he landed. He got me, and it was early. But yeah, they have something going. And I think, you know, symbolically beating the Chiefs is a good first step to self-image and maybe who cares what we think. But yeah, so Captain Checkdown wasn't Captain Checkdown. Was he 11 yards per attempt? And Mayock said it to me last year. He goes, Pat, I'd like to throw deep. John wants to throw deep, but we don't have a deep threat. So Cliff Branch has been resurrected here in Mr. Ruggs. And that's what it felt like to me. And that's what I said to John. I said, because he put all the old jerseys on guys to let them feel the history. And Cliff Branch jersey went on Ruggs. And he played like Cliff. So, yeah, they're good there. They still need help on defense. We all know that. But if you look at that game, Carr outplayed Mahomes, Ruggs outplayed Tyreek Hill, and Jacobs outplayed Clyde Edwards-Helaire. That's just the facts. But they got problems on defense that aren't going to go away overnight. But they did play good in the secondary. I think it's up front. Where's the pass rush? Paul Alexander did an analysis of their pass rush, and he does think that they're coming, but they're just not there yet.
Couple of 4-1 teams, Chicago and Cleveland. Browns on a 4-game winning streak. They haven't been 4-1 since 1994. Are you buying both?
God, I'd love to. But I don't know that I'm buying either one of them full time. I think they're both on their way to making, an extra game or two at the end of the season. I don't know about Foles and those guys. I really don't. Can they run the ball?
No,
Cleveland
they can't.
can run the ball.
Right.
And they can run the ball without Chubb, which they just demonstrated. We all remember Hunt he was the best running back in the league for 2 years there at Kansas City. And he immediately made you feel like, well, we can win without Chubb. I don't know if the other guys can run the ball.
They can't. Like they can't. It's been proven. One, he doesn't like to run the ball because he's an Andy Reid disciple, and two, they just don't have the personnel. They cannot run the football. It's going to be all on Nick Foles, and that's asking a lot.
I agree. Well, there it is. I think Stefanski's done a brilliant job of keeping Jarvis Landry and Odell interested in this offense and keeping them, look, Kevin knows he should run the ball, not put too much weight on Baker. But he's got these two superstars that are kind of like they need to be fed. So here come the reverses, the halfback option passes, all kinds of stuff for them. And all of a sudden, everybody's happy out there. And they're kind of dangerous.
Pat, I know they had a bye last week, but as we go through all the undefeateds, does it seem to you like everybody is just neglecting the Packers? Because right now, I think they're the best team in the league. I don't know how you fill out your power polls, and I know for certain that they don't matter on October 13th. But at this moment in time, is there anybody playing better football than the Packers?
It's me. Tuesdays is when I do my AP power rankings, but I can't do it today because of the game tonight. We have to finish it tomorrow. And you know what? And there it is, Buffalo and Tennessee. The winner of that game is going to be close to the top 6 or so, and the loser is not going to fall down very far unless it's a blowout, which I doubt. So I'm glad you brought it up because the two teams I think deserve to be on the top. One has got a bye. That's Green Bay is on a bye. But I'll tell you what, if I was being honest and I'm going to do it, I think, and then take some grief, but I don't care. I think I'm going to put Pittsburgh 1 and Green Bay 2.
No one would want to see that Super Bowl, Pat. Nobody at all would want to see the Steelers and the Packers play in February.
Well, I usually should shoot a hole right in my thinking here, but I think the Steelers are brutally hard to beat, and they got defense and offense, and James Conner's running the ball again. Forget Claypool and all the excitement that's going on with that guy, but I don't know, Big Ben and Rodgers, Seattle's defense, it's like it's hold your breath every week. And Kansas City, they lost this week, but they looked dull last week. Would you guys think I'm nuts if I have Pittsburgh and Green Bay 1 and 2?
Nuts? No. One thing I will say, and maybe I'm nitpicking here, Pittsburgh's defense is not playing as well as they were last year. Eagles have no weapons, and they put nearly 30 on the board. Jeff Driscoll nearly led Denver. Got them within 1 score coming off the bench in Pittsburgh. If the Steelers defense, if they start playing like they did last year, Pat, they're going to the Super Bowl. But I don't think that defense has shown up yet.
I agree. Not every week, but I do see the elements of they got pass rush, they got coverage. They like to blitz like crazy. But so I put that thought up against my board here, and Seattle's defense, I don't know about that.
Right.
How about Kansas City last week? So the defense is a liability around the league. But that's a function of a lot of things, right? The way we're playing the game, and they're not calling holding, and there's a lot of things going on. So
more plays, absolutely, Pat.
Yeah, and what's the new norm? What is great defense? It used to be single digits. The opposing team had under 10. Then it was 15. Then we all broke the rule and said 20 is good defense. But I think good defense now is 25 to 27. But you guys, I think David said 23 to 24 last week.
Well, and Pat, when you look at what's going on in fourth quarters in just about every game, I mean, New Orleans last night comes from way behind, and we've had more 17-point comebacks this year probably than we've ever had before, and that's going to be the norm. So is it not just the points, but teams that can play defense in the fourth quarter still?
Yeah, well, I think the discussion we had a few weeks ago is, are there any defensive players that can play more than 50 plays? I think that was David's comment. And so you have this world of the field is stretched vertically and horizontally. We've gone over this before, but players are absolutely on defense running much more than they had to run before.
Yep.
You keep throwing these bubble screens and jet sweeps. Go look at Claypool's 2 touchdowns, the bubble, the diamond one, and the jet sweep. Think of what those defensive kids had to do. The whole defense had to run full width of the field and get there not in time, and then turn around and go back and put their hand back on the ground. So I think they're killing the defense with that. I've talked about having more defensive players on your roster than offensive guys just to stop them from getting gassed. But I've pursued that opinion David gave about the 50 plays is all they got in them. So I've asked coaches, and it's funny their answer. They always pause like, I never thought of it that way. But, that's about right. So everyone seems to be backing up David's idea that 50 plays is all they got. And now what are they playing? 70 plays?
Yep.
And running like crazy.
Pat, already looking forward to our talk on Friday. Stay safe. Be well, my friend.
All right, guys. Take care. Thank you.
Pat Kirwan. Moving the chains weekday afternoons on NFL Radio. You can follow Pat on Twitter at @PatKirwan_NFL. Pat joined us once again courtesy of Pinchers, Tampa to Key West, and many points in between. Pinchers, because you can't fake fresh. The good, the bad, and the ugly, and then the bonus Twitch hour in which Dr. Roto will join us at some point. Some early fantasy waiver wire, and we'll also talk a little Titans and Bills. Coming up in a matter of moments after the good, the bad, and the ugly next. Miller and Moulton, Southwest Florida's Fox Sports Radio.